Welcome back to Robert's Reviews. Today we are doing another movie that my professor made me review in class, which is the movie Hoosiers. Hoosiers was released in 1986, and it was written by Angelo Pizzo and directed by David Ansbaugh. Before we get right into the review, a couple little things. As you can tell, my situation has moved. That is because I just bought the Oculus Quest 2. Can't really see it very well. It's behind the microphone. But I bought one, and so I moved my room around a little bit so I had the optimal amount of room to be able to swing my arms around and play. I've made it to number 14 in the world right now on Victorious by Panic at the Disco, on hard mode on Beat Saber. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Hopefully I'll get farther along as we go. Also, sorry about the gross beard and mustache garbage. And my hair is a mess because I am participating in No Shave November. And when this comes out, it'll be like almost towards the middle of November. And you're going to see this gross thing for quite some time because I shoot videos about 2 weeks in advance. So that'll be rough. But, oh well, that will be okay. We will live through this. We can do this. Couple other things. This week, I believe, yep, it'll be this week. Starting on the 19th, I'm doing my top 8 movies that have influenced me or that I really enjoyed. I'm not telling you what 8 movies there are, but you should tune in because it's going to be really cool. I'm going to tilt this down a little bit. It's going to be really cool. I'm really excited. I got to watch all these movies all over again and really enjoy them, so I really hope you tune in, watch those videos, and enjoy them as well. Also, one note, sorry the lighting is awful. That's because I have this light on and the window is there. I will try closing the window later, and hopefully that'll fix my future videos. But for now, I'm sorry. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad. But without further ado, let's talk about Hoosiers. So this movie I was told to watch it and analyze it for class, my media writing class in college at SUNY Oneonta, and my professor told me to watch this movie and analyze it, so I did. I watched it similarly to the paper, which came out, I don't know, like a week ago, and that movie was a lot better. This movie is not particularly my favorite movie of all time, but it's not the worst movie either. So a little bit about the movie. First of all, Hoosiers. For those who don't know, like me, before I watched the movie and then had to figure out what the title meant, Hoosiers are it's like a word that represents people that live in Indiana, I guess. It's really weird. It's a weird word. I don't know why they have that word. I didn't really research too much about it because honestly, I don't care. But that just stands for people living in Indiana, which is a dumb name for a movie, in my opinion, because it has very little to do with the fact that it's set in Indiana. In fact, I would argue it has nothing to do with the fact that it's set in Indiana, except for the fact that it's based on a true story about a basketball team in Indiana. If it wasn't set in Indiana, what would they call this movie? I don't know. I do not know. I could not tell you. I don't know. I don't know. Drop in the comments below if you've watched this movie and have a better title for it, because I wouldn't mind knowing a better title for it. So essentially what happens is this coach who was kicked off of the league of coaching people, so he basically hit a student and then he was told he could never coach again. And then 14 years later, the principal of the school tells him to come and coach the basketball team because they need help coaching, and he's willing to forgive him for the attack on the student. So he comes into Indiana. There's a very small town. There's very little amount of people. The basketball team has 5 people on it to start out with. And essentially, the coach is trying to coach this team to be the best basketball team that it can be. And it's really stereotypical, which I really don't enjoy. It's very cliche, and I don't really understand why it had to be made. Although, to be fair, this was made in 1986, so maybe it was kind of the first of its time. I don't really know. I didn't really Google much about it because I didn't really like the movie, and I don't like Googling before I make my reviews. But I didn't like the idea of the movie, and the main reason for that is that I didn't care, right? I liked the coach's character a lot. Don't get me wrong. I had a great time watching the character and learning it and watching it grow and all that stuff and change as he coached the team, which eventually went on to win the state championships of Indiana, which is based on a true story, kind of, or so I'm told, or led to believe. And I don't know. I mean, the character was really cool and really interesting to watch. The issue is that, like, every coach is like that. He gives them weird things that they have to follow. They're like, he's like, you have to pass it 4 times before you shoot the hoop, and it's like this weird thing that like the basketball players are like, but why? And he's like, because I said so. I'm the coach and I'm really good. And again, it's that stereotypical thing where like the students don't really understand what's going on, but the coach is like all in on this really weird practice that he's having them do. So I don't really like movies that are like that in particular, but I enjoyed every character in here, and that's what really kept me watching it. Besides the fact that it was an assignment and I had to do it for class, but I mean I didn't mind watching it. I had to take a break in the middle because it got boring as hell, but the characters are what drives this story, and I've always talked to you guys about how much I enjoy character-driven material, and I do enjoy character-driven material. And this one is no different. I mean, it's still very character-driven. All the plot weaves in and out of the characters, and it works really well for them, and good for them. But the plot is so boring and has no influence on my life or anybody's life, for that instance. And I just don't really care. I mean, there's a lot of really cool sports movies out there that I could watch. Like Friday Night Lights. I like that movie. I generally like football movies better than basketball movies. I'm awful at sports. I can't do them. I'm bad at them. I can't run. I can't do any of that. I am not physical, as you can see. I am not in the greatest shape. But I love watching basketball movies and like football movies because I understand sports. I understand what the goal of a sport is. I just don't particularly enjoy doing it. But watching it, I can get behind. I can get behind watching movies that have to do with that kind of stuff. But not basketball in particular. I mean, because the stories are all the same. It's just like this weird small team that never thought they could win and then all of a sudden wins. But the characters in here are really good. I'm going to talk about a couple of the characters and then we'll wrap it up for today. Gene Hackman plays Coach Norman Dale. So, Coach, as I've already told you, the coach got banned from teaching, essentially banned from coaching, and then he gets relieved of that issue when a friend of his tells him he can come coach his team. And he's given this team of like 5 people who don't know how to play ball at all, and one student who was the best basketball player in Indiana for no reason, really, and then just quits because the other coach died and he liked the other coach, which is understandable. I would understand that. It's slightly annoying, but whatever. But we don't learn really that he's been kicked out of like the coaching life until like halfway through the movie. And it's in the middle of a boring scene. So we're in the middle of a boring scene and they just dropped this bomb on us. And it's like, sorry, if you didn't say that at that exact moment, I wouldn't have even noticed you said it because it was so boring. But that, got me back into the characters and got me back into seeing the relationship between these couple characters, because it's interesting to note that, people are not going to like the fact that he was kicked off of that union or whatever. And then other people will be like, well, just give him a chance. But Gene Hackman did a really good job. I've heard he's an awful person. I just heard about it in the news and stuff. I don't know for sure. I never met the guy, obviously. I live in Norwich, New York, so it's like nothing. But I've heard he's an awful person. But his acting in this movie was pretty good. I have to say, I was impressed by him in general. So good for him. Barbara Hershey plays Myra Fleener, and she's like the acting principal or whatever, and she meets Coach at the first practice, and slowly, for some reason, she falls in love with him. I don't really understand why. It seems like she is considerably younger than him. Doesn't seem to bother them any, which is fine. Good for you. And I don't know, it's really, besides a romantic relationship that was almost complicated by the fact that she doesn't like him at all, it was nothing. I think Fleener did a good job. I had no issues with the performance. It was just curious to me as to why the character even existed, but beyond the pure fact that they needed something there for They needed something there for him to love for no reason. Dennis Hopper played Shooter. I should say the late Dennis Hopper. Unfortunately, I did learn that he had passed away quite a long time ago. I think it was like 2010, which blew me away because, in my opinion, he had the best performance in this movie. He plays a father of one of the basketball players, and he's a drunk. He's a very heavily drunk. And he did such a good job playing both sides of, like, he's drunk and he's an alcoholic and he's trying to stop drinking so he can go to these games and be with his son and celebrate the team, because he also becomes assistant coach because the coach feels bad, I guess. But it's very interesting to me that, like, the smaller characters that don't really seem to matter to me a lot. Like, he's definitely not like the main character. Arguably, he's not near the main characters because we have the whole basketball team I haven't talked about yet, but that'll be really quick. But Hopper really made it seem to me that his character was important, and it was in the end. But in the beginning, I almost was surprised as to like what he was. I was like, where did he come from? I didn't hear about this until this exact moment, like halfway through the movie. But whatever, to each their own. Hopper did a wonderful job playing this weird, drunk, alcoholic father, really, because at the end of the day, he is a father, and he wants to be there for his son, and it's really cool to see that. And a quick little note about the team. Most of the team were just basketball players from Indiana. They just had basketball players come in and play the team. They had a couple actors, I think, but I don't know for sure. I don't really care. They did wonderful. I have no complaints. So whether they were actors or basketball players, it doesn't matter to me. Good for you. I had a good time watching the basketball players. With all that said, I'm going to give this movie a B because I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the parts that had the deep character connections. I just think it was a little slow, and they could have done without a lot of the cliche stuff that they added in there. Although maybe that's just because I live in 2020 and this was made like almost 40 years ago, where maybe it wasn't a cliche at the time. That's it for me. One quick note, I do have an IMDB page now. That's in the description. You can go on there to see all of the movies that I have reviewed, and you can check them in order of how I liked them and all that kind of stuff. And you can also see on there where to watch things, and it's really cool. It's an interactive site. I mean, I know about IMDb, and I'm sure you also know. I just didn't know that I could make my own list. So I made my own list of all the movies that I have reviewed. So if you want to go on ahead and go in there and take a look or whatever, good for you. If you don't want to, that's totally fine. Watch my YouTube channel. It's probably better anyway because it's way more in depth. In there, it's just a list of movies that I've reviewed that also pop up on here without the review, because I want you to watch the review on here because I'm hoping to get paid through YouTube at some point. As always, join the Facebook group for more, and like this video, subscribe. I know a lot of you aren't subscribed, so you should definitely do that. That'd be really great. I would like that. It would help me a lot. So make sure you're doing that, and I will I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, just keep watching films, stay educated, and I'll see you in the next one.